Welcome to Charlie's Chills, where we unravel bone-chilling real haunted stories from around the world. I'm Charlie, your host, bringing you tales from the internet and our listeners that will haunt your dreams. Follow us on X, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook at Charlie's Chills for your daily dose of spookiness. If you're creeped out and captivated, like, share, and subscribe, or follow, depending on your platform. And if you want to dive deeper into the shadows, contribute through buymeacoffee.com/charlieschills. All links in the description. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the world of Charlie's Chills. During my time in Okinawa from 2009 to 2011, while stationed at Kadena Air Base, I resided in an on-base dormitory. Within the walls of that dormitory, I encountered 3 significant paranormal occurrences. The first of these 3 incidents was the least unsettling. My room appeared to be shared by 2 young men who had presumably passed away during the U.S. occupation of Okinawa. They never seemed to disrupt anything. Instead, they simply wandered about the small room. At night, they often settled in the chair by the window or at the foot of my bed. Strangely, I never sensed any negativity from their presence. It felt more like the company of fellow inhabitants. The next encounter, however, was entirely different. A female spirit began to roam the dormitory, typically visiting inebriated individuals and bestowing them with what I'll describe as pleasant dreams, to keep it PG. One evening, after consuming a bit of alcohol myself, but not enough to be intoxicated, I felt soft, feminine hands gently tracing down my back, a sensation I had experienced years before and promptly rebuffed. It seemed that my rejection did not sit well with her, as her visitations became more frequent. While engrossed in playing games on my laptop during the sweltering Okinawan summer, my room would inexplicably grow ice cold. This couldn't be attributed to the air conditioning since the draft came from the inner hallway. It was after her frequent visits that another presence joined the mix. I associate these 2 entities because they invariably appeared together and due to what a friend revealed to me later. This second presence was male, and both he and the woman were native spirits. Their appearances coincided, with the woman typically appearing first, and then the man, opposite her. However, his presence brought with it an oppressive heat, leaving me trapped between 2 clashing sensations, intense cold and scorching heat. Then came the evening that sent shivers down my spine. I lay down to sleep, but shortly after, I found myself paralyzed. A large, rough hand pressed down on my head, while another gripped my side. The sheets creaked as an unseen force pushed me deeper into the bed. Panic surged within me, and I mentally repeated the words, "Get out," while trying to shake myself free. It took considerable effort, but eventually, I managed to wiggle slightly and utter, "Go." Aloud. As soon as the phrase escaped my lips, I regained my freedom and sprang out of bed. Though the room was well lit, shadows appeared to writhe along the ceiling, like sinuous tentacles extending outward. An overwhelming presence bore down upon me, prompting me to contact a friend I had been speaking with on TeamSpeak. She listened as I explained the situation and strongly recommended that I perform a banishing ritual to rid myself of the malevolent spirit, or, alternatively, she could do it for me. Not wanting to worsen the situation through any mishaps, I asked her to perform the ritual. I placed her on speakerphone, and she recited the incantations. Oddly, she disconnected abruptly in mid-sentence, just as an eerie silence settled over my room. When she returned, I heard a woman's voice scream from behind her own. She informed me that she had dealt with the spirit, though it had made a desperate attempt to resist her efforts. Then, she explained what she had gleaned from the spirit. In life, the woman had fallen in with the wrong crowd, and ultimately, the wrong forces. She was bound to them, and she had come that night to exact revenge upon me for rejecting her advances. The man, who I had unintentionally rejected earlier, had also appeared to protect me from her. Tragically, he had taken his own life because of her, becoming bound to her and the earthly realm by custom. I spoke to the male spirit, offering my apologies for my panicked rejection and expressing my gratitude for his protective intentions. I promised to honor his memory. As I finished speaking, 3 lights blinked in the air above my bed, forming the shape of a triangle, first the top point, then down to the right, and finally across to the left. Following that night, I never saw or felt the presence of either spirit again. My mother later explained that those lights represented his acceptance of my apology, his appreciation for my gesture, and his farewell as he moved on. The last encounter was startling yet strangely peaceful. While driving back to the dormitory from the flight line one night, I noticed a shadow engulfing my back passenger window. It slowly crept forward, attaching itself to the side mirror. Though I couldn't see the entity itself, I could sense its movement. Later that night, in the early hours of the morning, I awoke with an uncanny feeling of being watched. As I opened my eyes, I was met with the unblinking gaze of a young local girl, her white eyes locked onto mine. Startled at first, I soon realized she meant no harm. I told her she could stay as long as she refrained from watching me sleep. She wandered away to explore the room, and I drifted back to sleep. From then on, I always kept a bucket uncluttered next to my computer chair. I refrained from using it as a table because an inner voice told me not to. While playing games, I felt a gentle, rhythmic grazing against my leg, a sensation that persisted whenever I used the bucket. During phone calls with my mother, she would occasionally ask about my friend. Confused, I asked for clarification, to which she responded, "The little girl sitting next to you." She revealed that the girl enjoyed watching me play my games. My mother explained that the girl had gone blind and succumbed to an old childhood illness long ago. She was drawn to me because, whatever I may have represented, I was the first person she had seen in. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just ventured into another eerie tale from the depths of the unknown. But fear not, there's more spine-tingling content coming your way after this short break. While we take a breather, remember to follow us on X, formerly Twitter, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, at charlieshills, to stay updated on all things supernatural. If you've been enjoying these chilling stories, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow, depending on your platform, so you never miss a heart-pounding episode. And for those brave souls who want to support our quest for the paranormal, consider contributing through buymeacoffee.com/charlieschills. So, don't wander too far. We'll be back with more hair-raising tales, inexplicable encounters, and unsettling mysteries. Stay tuned, because Charlie's Chills returns in just a moment. Keep those lights on, my friends.
My vacation had taken me to Japan to visit my grandmother, who resided in an old-fashioned Japanese house. The house was a picturesque sight, boasting a koi pond in the back, lush vegetation surrounding it, traditional fusuma sliding doors, and a spacious porch. It was a relic from the 1930s, and my grandmother often regaled me with tales of her childhood, particularly the times when she spotted geisha strolling near the house. To enter the house, one had to remove their shoes, which made for quiet, almost ghostly movements on the wooden floors. My favorite spot was the garden by the pond, where I could lose myself in the tranquility. However, just a few days into our family's stay, something strange began to unfold. One twilight evening, while I was immersed in the garden's serenity, I heard a captivating melody, drifting through the air. It was an enchanting tune that drew me in. I searched for the source and found, on the other side of the pond, a mesmerizing geisha. She was adorned in an exquisite ensemble, a traditional peach-colored silk kimono with intricate designs, her face concealed behind traditional geisha makeup. She held a beautiful umbrella with floral patterns, and her hair was meticulously arranged in a bun, adorned with delicate floral ornaments. I called out to her in shock, but she appeared oblivious to my presence. As twilight faded into darkness, she vanished, leaving me bewildered. I rushed inside, eager to ask my family if they had heard the enchanting singing, but to my dismay, they had only heard me calling out to someone, not the mysterious geisha. I decided to dismiss the experience, but my grandmother's knowing expression hinted at something more. My grandmother assigned me the room she never used, the last available one. Despite its spaciousness, it had been neglected and was in need of cleaning. Once tidied up, I moved in, but that night, an inexplicable gloom seemed to pervade the room. By morning, the unease had dissipated, but I couldn't shake off the lingering sense of curiosity about the strange events. Around 4 p.m. on a subsequent day, the scent of jasmine wafted through the air, yet I seemed to be the only one who noticed it. My grandmother's behavior had become increasingly nervous and anxious, though I never dared to inquire about it. Like clockwork, at the same time, the geisha reappeared, singing her haunting melody, yet no one else heard her enchanting song. Going to bed that night was torturous, as the oppressive feeling from my room lingered. After nearly a week of these unsettling occurrences, I decided to probe my grandmother about the house's previous owners. She revealed that the house had once belonged to a man with a penchant for captivating geisha. I couldn't help but wonder why the spirit of this young woman remained tethered to the earthly realm. Then, one day, while in my room, I dropped a coin that rolled beneath a large chest in the corner. My grandmother mentioned that the chest had been there since her childhood and hadn't been moved in years. Despite its emptiness, it was surprisingly heavy. When I attempted to shift it slightly, I noticed a loose wooden board underneath. Summoning all my strength, I managed to move the chest aside and discovered something hidden beneath the loose board, a carefully wrapped antique jewelry box. Upon opening it, I found old photographs of men and women, one of the hair ornaments worn by the geisha, and what appeared to be a journal. I was captivated and nervous. Among the faded Japanese text, one passage stood out. Oka-san, the owner of the Okiya, says I am doing better than the other geisha. She attributes it to my youthful charm and my gift for song. But, I have caught the attention of a particular man, Murakami Katsuro, a prosperous businessman. I can sense that he may become my Dana one day. That's what I fear. The rest of the journal was too faded to decipher, with this being the last legible entry, and the remaining pages lay blank. When my family went out shopping, I mustered the courage to question my grandmother about the mysterious occurrences. She grew visibly nervous but eventually shared that she knew the young woman. Her geisha name was Sokuhai, and her real name was Haruko Oshiro. The story of Sokuhai's life, as well as her lingering spirit, began to unravel before me, and I became determined to uncover the truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, We've just ventured into another eerie tale from the depths of the unknown. But fear not, there's more spine-tingling content coming your way after this short break. While we take a breather, remember to follow us on X, formerly Twitter, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, at Charlieshills, to stay updated on all things supernatural. If you've been enjoying these chilling stories, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow, depending on your platform, so you never miss a heart-pounding episode. And for those brave souls who want to support our quest for the paranormal, consider contributing through buymeacoffee.com/charlieschills. So, don't wander too far. We'll be back with more hair-raising tales, inexplicable encounters, and unsettling mysteries. Stay tuned, because Charlie's Chills returns in just a moment. Keep those. I used to go by the name Roy Enowaki Lynx when I was in Brazil. But after moving to Sapporo, Japan, I felt the need for a more fitting Japanese name, so I now go by Ryujin. Despite the hot summer days, life here in the countryside, in my two-story farmhouse, was usually peaceful. My backyard housed a chicken coop, where I recently paired 2 white Chinese silk chickens. They had 6 healthy chicks, and it felt like my slow, tranquil life had just begun. Little did I know, it was about to take an unsettling turn, all thanks to a creepy closet in the attic. The story started on a stormy night when I was alone in my house, accompanied only by my playful gray cat named Ailshani. Ailshani had short hair and a pair of striking green eyes. She enjoyed hiding in the old closet in the attic, making it her favorite spot for a game of hide and seek. The closet in the attic had always given me the creeps, ever since I first laid eyes on it. Typically, when Ailshani hid there, I would coax her out using her favorite toy, Mr. Rat, and then carry her away from the unsettling space. I avoided using that closet myself, until that fateful night. During that stormy evening, Ailshani once again chose to play her game of hide and seek, taking refuge in the ominous closet. I had grown tired of our routine, baiting her out and carrying her away, so this time, I decided to wait patiently for her to emerge. Ailshani, in her usual fashion, peeked her little head out of the slightly ajar closet door, giving me a look that seemed to say, "Why aren't you doing your usual routine?" I enticed her with Mr. Rat, which she couldn't resist. As expected, Ailshani began to approach, but then she suddenly halted, as if she sensed another presence besides mine. I couldn't help but feel a chill creeping down my spine. Ailshani cautiously made her way towards me, fixated on the wall behind me as if someone, something, stood there. I turned around to look, finding nothing but a wall. Puzzled and unnerved, Ailshani walked back and darted towards my bed. Feeling uneasy, I followed her, contemplating spending the night in bed. In the dead of night, a noise emanated from the backyard, and my first thought was that a wild raccoon had infiltrated the chicken coop. With my spring-loaded air rifle in hand, I rushed outside, activating the coop's light. The hen was protectively nestled on her nest, guarding her fluffy chicks. The male was perched on the roof, surveying the situation below with curiosity. However, there was no sign of raccoons or any other intruders. Turning off the light, I was about to head back to the house when I felt an icy sensation on my back, as though rainwater had dripped onto me. I turned around, staring into the darkness, but there was nothing to explain the sudden chill. Wary and alert, I returned to the house, my air rifle at the ready. All the while, I couldn't shake the eerie feeling that someone or something was watching me from a distance. I hurried inside, only to find Ailshani awake and peering up the attic stairs. My thoughts immediately turned to the ominous closet. I secured my rifle back in its place, determined not to accidentally harm Ailshani or anything else in the house. With the lights on, I proceeded toward the attic, Ailshani's ears perking up with curiosity. The attic, typically a quiet and dark storage area, echoed with the sound of rainwater dripping outside the window. From below, I could see the closet, its reflection shimmering in the lights downstairs. Gently, I opened the closet door with my fingertip. But then, the closet slammed shut on its own, startling me. I scooped up Ailshani and rushed out, heading straight for the garage. Ailshani, trembling with fear, curled up in my arms like a protective fur ball. It was the first time in my life that I had run away from a closet. To this day, that closet remains untouched in the attic of my farmhouse, a silent reminder of the unsettling presence that dwells within. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just ventured into another eerie tale from the depths of the unknown. But fear not, there's more spine-tingling content coming your way after this short break. While we take a breather, remember to follow us on X, formerly Twitter, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, at Charlieshills, to stay updated on all things supernatural. If you've been enjoying these chilling stories, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow, depending on your platform, so you never miss a heart-pounding episode. And for those brave souls who want to support our quest for the paranormal, consider contributing through buymeacoffee.com/charlieschills. So, don't wander too far. We'll be back with more hair-raising tales, inexplicable encounters, and unsettling mysteries. Stay tuned, because Charlie's Chills returns in just a moment. Keep those lights on, my friends. In 1990, I held the rank of corporal in the Marine Corps and was stationed at Camp Butler on the island of Okinawa, counting down the last 6 months of my tour of duty. As a non-commissioned officer, I managed to secure a room for myself, although it was designed for 2 people. This small room featured a wall locker upon entry, bunk beds on either side, and a desk, a small fridge, and an end table against the far wall, adjacent to a window. But what drew my attention most was the old, large mirror hanging on the left wall above one of the bunks. It was encased in a peculiar, heavy wooden frame. Despite the room's intended double occupancy, I often invited friends to take refuge there whenever they sought respite from their duties. However, they rarely stayed for long. Initially, they would enter, attempting to catch some rest, but they soon complained of disturbing and violent dreams. Arguments broke out, and even trivial matters escalated into fistfights. People who had entered as friends would exit angry, melancholic, or burdened by inexplicable sadness. On one occasion, a friend who had entered the room in high spirits suddenly grew agitated, launching himself at me, locking me in a chokehold. It took 2 others to pry him away. Later, he apologized, genuinely baffled by his own behavior. Another time, my closest friend attempted a nap while I read a book. Abruptly, he sat up, his gaze fixed on empty space, and declared, "I can't take this anymore," before hastily leaving without explanation. He never spent more than a few minutes in that room again. Feelings of foreboding, melancholy, and anger hung in the air and seemed to amplify alongside the inexplicable noises. I lost count of the times a sergeant living in the room adjacent to mine would angrily knock on my door, accusing me of blasting music or playing the TV too loudly. However, I was an unusually quiet individual. I only listened to music through headphones, and when I occasionally watched TV, I kept the volume low. On numerous occasions, he would complain about raucous parties, only to discover that I was alone in my room either reading or writing letters, when he came to investigate the commotion. During that time, I had access to an acoustic guitar and was composing my own songs. One evening, with a lull in hallway traffic and most people away for the weekend, I decided to record a recently composed song to assess how it sounded. My singing skills were abysmal, but I wanted to gauge how the lyrics harmonized with the tune. I switched on the recorder and strummed the guitar softly, whispering the lyrics. I repeated this process several times until I felt satisfied. Upon listening to the recording, I was mortified to hear not only my own faltering vocals but also a chorus of people howling like wolves in the background. I promptly turned off the machine and rewound it. The unsettling sound persisted, revealing that the howling was coming from inside the room. I was mortified, convinced that they were ridiculing my musical ineptitude. I felt deeply embarrassed and decided to wait for a time when I was entirely alone to continue recording. The room seemed to have a similar effect on me as it had on others, and it was evident that the large mirror was the source of these unsettling experiences. When visitors were present, they would instinctively avoid the mirror, keeping their distance. Their glances toward it suggested an eerie apprehension, as if they feared it might move. The mirror had always stood out, and while I used it reluctantly, I tried to avoid looking at it whenever I entered or exited the room, a challenging task given its size. One evening, as daylight still lingered, I prepared to go out. It was the weekend, and I was meeting friends nearby. After a shower and dressing, I realized I had left something on the desk. Retrieving it, I proceeded to the room's exit. Before leaving, I glanced at my reflection in the mirror. I stopped in my tracks, my heart racing, for I witnessed something that defied belief. Inexplicably, alongside my own reflection, there appeared the image of a human arm, tanned and slightly soiled, extended as if offering a handshake. There was no accompanying body, no blood or any other trace, just an arm from shoulder to fingers. I stood there, transfixed, for what felt like an eternity, perhaps 30 seconds, as if entranced by the inconceivable sight. I couldn't move or even fully comprehend what was unfolding before my eyes. It was only when the apparition vanished as swiftly as it had appeared that I snapped out of my trance. I felt chilled to the bone and lightheaded, and I rushed out of the room in a panic. Uncertain of how to process this eerie experience, I met my friends later, feeling perplexed and uneasy but choosing to keep my unsettling encounter to myself. I needed time to make sense of it. Eventually, the friend who had previously assaulted me with a chokehold was promoted and moved into the room with me. After a week, he mustered the courage to express what everyone else had been thinking but hesitating to voice. He confided that he couldn't bear the mirror's presence and refused to spend another night in the room unless the mirror was removed from the wall. While he couldn't pinpoint precisely what unnerved him, he conveyed that the mirror emanated a pervasive malevolence. Upon hearing this, I recounted my own harrowing experience with the mirror. We mutually agreed that we needed to take action. Unfortunately, we had no proper place to store the mirror, and when we attempted to dispose of it, a fastidious superior admonished us, insisting we couldn't discard government property without due authorization. He demanded that we return it to the room, and he kept inspecting to ensure we complied. In a desperate attempt, we removed the mirror from the wall, swathed it in a heavy blanket, and concealed it behind the refrigerator, its glass facing the wall. It may sound absurd, but this solution proved effective. Following this, the unsettling dreams, violent conflicts, and pervasive sense of dread ceased entirely. It was as though a switch had been flipped, and the darkness lifted. As our time in Okinawa drew to a close, we meticulously cleaned the room for one final inspection before returning to the United States. However, we inadvertently forgot to rehang the mirror. During the inspection, a friendly and easygoing lieutenant evaluated our room and noted only one discrepancy: the mirror concealed behind our fridge. In response to his inquiry about the mirror, my roommate, to my embarrassment, recounted the entire story. The lieutenant listened attentively, nodded understandingly, and then issued an unexpected order: unwrap the mirror. It looks better that way. Complying with his unusual request, we uncovered the mirror, but we left it behind, swathed in the blanket, for the next occupants of the room to discover. As we wrap up another spine-tingling episode of Charlie's Chills, thank you, fearless listeners, for joining our eerie exploration. Keep the chills alive by following us on X, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook at Charlie Chills. Like, share, subscribe, or follow, and stay connected. For those who dare to venture further, consider contributing through buymeacoffee.com/charlieschills. Your support fuels our haunting tales. Find all the links in the description. Stay haunted, stay curious, and stay tuned for more chilling stories. This is Charlie, signing off.